Hey everyone, it's Lene. Happy Friday. Today is August 14th, 2020. And as of this month, I have been on HRT for officially 2 full years. This month, August, I am celebrating my 2 year anniversary on HRT. For the longest time, the month of August has always been my least favorite of the year. It's hot, no holidays, and back to school. But that all changed on August 1st, 2018, when I started hormones. When I took my first dose, honestly, I was scared. I wasn't sure of the impact that the medications would have on me, on my body. I had to do something about how I was feeling. A couple months before that, I took a trip to the Netherlands. While I was there, I did a lot of reading and I watched a lot of trans YouTube videos and just really honed in on how I felt and what I wanted my life to be. And I'm still not quite exactly where I would like to be in my transition, but it definitely helped, being able to do some soul searching before making a big decision such as transitioning. I am thankful for making it this far. It's been a little rough at times, but overall, I think I've handled it pretty well. I do a lot of self care. I try to eat well, make sure my emotions are in a good place, that my mind is in a good place. And a great big thank you out to all of you who have encouraged me along the way. I rely on that encouragement. Without you guys, it would be difficult to get through my transition. So thank you. I appreciate each and every one of you. So I did a doctor's appointment over the phone because of COVID last month. It went pretty well. We talked for about half an hour and she ordered labs for me. I went in a few days after that, after I did my injections and did my lab work and got my results back, and I found out that my estrogen levels are a lot higher than they should be. So my doctor told me that I should lower my dose. So I did lower my dose and I went back in for labs a couple days ago, only to find out that my estrogen levels are still pretty high. They have gone down some, but I still need to lower them. So once again, I'm decreasing my weekly dose. I do have some good news, however. I was able to start doing laser last month. Since then, I've had 2 sessions. I immediately started seeing the results that I had seen before I stopped doing it. For those 5 months, my hair began to grow back more and I felt really dysphoric about it. I was trying my best to deal with it the best that I could, but yeah, I'm glad that I have access to laser hair removal now. So I'm not exactly where I would like to be in my transition right now, but I can honestly say that it was worth it to live my life as my true authentic self. Absolutely. There is something that I would do differently. Laser. I thought I did enough research to confidently go in and do laser. I found out that after all the time and money that I had invested at the initial place that I was going to, I just wasn't getting the results that I wanted. And I regret not doing more research to find out that there's a specific laser that's good for my skin type called the Indie Yag. And I've been using that laser since I started going to the new place. And, there's a lot less pain involved. And I'm seeing more results, which is good. The laser that they used at the other facility was pretty old, too, I could tell. It wasn't the most recent technology. So now that I'm 2 years in, the advice that I would give to someone who is considering starting their transition, if you truly feel like it's the right thing for you to do, is to make sure that if you're younger, that you're in a good place, that you're independent of a relationship that wouldn't be as supportive of you choosing to medically transition or become the person that you truly are. Also, I would say that if you're living in a city or town that isn't as accepting of someone who is LGBTQ, I would say wait if you can until you can relocate somewhere that is more accepting in an environment that is more conducive, that is more suitable for you to be your true self. And for the person who have just started their transition, I would say immediately if you're considering doing laser hair removal to do some research, but it's always good to start either before or immediately after starting hormones because your hair is going to change as you take hormones. It's going to become thinner, and in a lot of situations, it's going to become lighter too, which is harder to detect with a laser. Definitely seek out some support, such as a local support group or even people online, such as myself. You know, if you want to reach out to me, you can, and I'll do whatever I can to help. It's always good to seek out therapy too. I know that not everyone needs to, and there are some people who can't afford to, but that's also an option, an alternative. So last month, I moved into a new place. I have a roommate here. He's all right. You know, we don't really say much to each other. We usually say hello, good morning, goodbye, and that's about it. That's rather strange to me. I never actually lived with someone and said such few things to them. It's all about respect. As long as you respect me, we're fine. That's all I ask. But things are definitely a lot more peaceful here, and I often have the house to myself, which is nice. Before this, I was considering going back to Florida because where I was living before, the lady there, she told me that I would have to leave because her daughter was coming from Romania to live with her because her visa had been approved. But I was wondering how could that be because I thought the borders were closed right now to non-US citizens with COVID. I don't know, maybe she made the whole thing up, but honestly, I didn't really care because I was already trying to leave there anyway. But I was having some difficulty finding a place to live. And when you're trans, it's hard. Normally, right off the bat, I don't tell people that. I rather have them meet me first, and then they can decide whether I'm the right person. I know some of you might be asking, why won't I just get my own place? I would love to, but it can be expensive in this area right now. And I'd rather have that money to save for a rainy day, to invest, and to just put away to have, as opposed to spending all my money on some apartment that I'll never own. I try to keep my living expenses to a minimum, but I'm not sure how long I'm going to be here. Like I said, things have been pretty good here so far, and I do feel like I'm in a better place now. But I was running out of time to find something because I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I did have a talk with my mother. I didn't really talk to my dad about this. My dad doesn't really say much to me now, and I'm hoping that that will change. But we talked about, she and my dad not offering me to stay with them if I needed a place to go when I was furloughed from my job. Because our house was sitting there empty in Florida, and it's been empty for most of the year. They came back for a little while, but they recently purchased another house out of state, so they're working on that right now. But my mother said that if I need somewhere to stay, I'm more than welcome to come back home for a while. But shortly after that, I got a call from the laser clinic, and they told me that I could start doing laser again. And I had already paid for 10 sessions there. And I knew that if I went back to Florida, I would have to pay for laser again somewhere else. Not to mention transfer my health care. I didn't really want to deal with those complications right now, so I decided to stay here in Colorado, which so far I'm glad that I did. The area of Florida where my parents live, they're in the northern part, so it's kind of southern for the most part. And people can be not accepting to someone like me. But that was one of the main reasons why I decided to stay here in Colorado. I am paying a lot less here for rent, which is nice. I'm only paying $6.25. I'm paying for my own Wi-Fi, and I am renting a PO box right now to receive my mail. But other than that, this is a lot less than where I was before and where I was before that. I've moved 3 times already this year. But if I do have to go back to Florida at some point, I would rather it be a choice, not something that I just have to do. Luckily for me, because of the stimulus money and my unemployment, the generous amount of unemployment that a lot of us have been getting, I've been able to add to my savings and invest some of it, because I like to invest my money too, because I know that I'm not going to be young forever. There will come a time where I won't be able to do the things that I do now. I would want to have a good nest egg to someday retire on if I can. I know it's harder now to achieve that than it was for my parents who are baby boomers, but it can still be done if you play it smart. But so far, thankfully, I haven't had a reason to dip into my savings, and I'm hoping that that will remain. So, I mentioned in my last video that I decided to go vegetarian. Well, back in June, I decided to go vegan. Or not necessarily vegan, but pescatarian. I think I'm saying it right. Where I would eat fish on occasion. But as of yesterday, I ate chicken for the first time in about 4 months. Because there was a baked chicken recipe that I was always craving, but I was trying my best to, only eat fish on occasion and avoid dairy. And I'm still avoiding dairy right now. There are a lot of dairy-free options that you can find at the grocery store these days, which makes it a lot easier. But I feel pretty good so far. I still do my workouts, and, I'm definitely taking care of myself as best I can during the whole COVID quarantine. It's not good to watch the news constantly or to live in fear all the time, because we have to live our lives. There are still many great things to life, to living life. That's why we just have to go out and live it, despite all of the negativity, the negative things that we're surrounded by. And that's what I'm trying to do. And I'm trying to take care of my mental state too, and feed my mind with things that will serve me as opposed to those things that don't. Because in order to serve others, I have to be in a good state, right? Right. So I will admit that I have been experiencing a bit of imposter syndrome. I wasn't going to share this, but I will anyway. Recently, I've received compliments on my appearance. A lot of people have told me that, I look really nice, that, I'm beautiful, which has made me feel good. I don't let it go to my head or anything, but sometimes I wonder, because now everywhere you go, you have to wear a mask. And I wonder if people know that I'm transgender. And if they did know, would that change their opinion of me? All of these people who gave me these compliments were women. Even though I identify as lesbian, I would like attention from guys too, I notice that some guys do check me out sometimes, but I wouldn't be offended by that. That wouldn't turn me off at all. But I remind myself that it doesn't matter that I'm trans. It bothers me less now than it did when I first started my transition. Because I am beautiful regardless of whether I'm trans or cis. What really matters is what I think of myself, not what others think of me. This is definitely something that I'm still working on, but I have gotten better with it. So, one of my goals for this year was to improve on doing my hair and makeup. I would like to change up my hair. I haven't really decided what I want to do with it, but I would like to do that, and I need to practice more doing makeup. Because I'm wearing a mask now, I don't wear makeup as often as I used to. I'll wear eyeshadow sometimes, but I still like to wear makeup. I feel more confident and more feminine whenever I do. So that's definitely something I need to work on and, start watching tutorials and experimenting. But I don't think I need a lot in order to achieve the look that I want. Since coming out to my family, I will say that they have been supportive for the most part, which is good. Although I wouldn't necessarily say that my parents are accepting, especially my dad. Last month, I was planning on going back for my nephew's graduation to visit everyone, but my mom got really scared with me flying there. She was afraid that I would be exposed to COVID. I tried to tell her that the odds of that actually happening with me wearing my mask, practicing good hygiene, maintaining a social distance, that I should be fine. But my mother told me that she spoke with a nurse at whatever doctor's office that they go to, and the nurse suggested that I not be around them, at least probably for the first week or two. But I was only planning to stay for about a week. So I had to cancel my airline ticket, and I ended up not going. They canceled the graduation, but we were going to have a mini ceremony for my nephew who recently graduated high school. I did send him a graduation gift though. But during that time, it was around my birthday, and I was planning on taking care of some things while I was there visiting because I have some of my things stored in the city that my parents live in, and I was going to transfer them to another storage facility that was a lot cheaper because I was spending a lot of money, a month at this other place. But because I couldn't go, my mother told me that she and my dad would do that for me, and they did. And I told them because they did that, that I didn't expect anything from them for my birthday. In addition to that, I sent them a gift card just to tell them, just to show them that I love them and that I appreciate them and that I greatly appreciate what they did for me. They helped me out a great deal. That's being supportive. But I have another airline ticket now, and my parents are once again away from their main house, so my mother suggested that, maybe I can come there for a little while and visit. My sisters, they would still be there, but my younger sister, she lives in Orlando, so she is actually a couple of hours away, but she said that she'd be willing to, make the drive to come see me, and maybe we could hang out for a weekend and we could all have a weekend together. I would like that, and I'm seriously considering going to visit on the 29th. I haven't yet decided yet, but I think that a getaway would be therapeutic for me. I could just have some time away from my normal routine and actually, be around people who care about me. It's been over a year and a half since I've seen anyone face to face who is related to me. And it's hard, being on your own. There are things about it that can be challenging and hard to deal with at times because you're doing it all on your own. I wanted to share with you some of the books that I'm reading currently. One of them is Warrior Goddess Training: Become the Woman You Are Meant to Be. The author's name is Heather, I'm looking down at it, Heather Ash Amara. I think I'm pronouncing it correctly, but I'm reading this book. I'm about halfway through it right now, and I'm reading it because I want to come more into my true self and who I am and become the woman that I want to be, despite what society tells me I should or should not be. Even as a trans woman, as a trans individual, sometimes, people expect you to conform to certain stereotypes or gender roles. And there's another one called It Never Goes Away: Gender Transition at a Mature Age. I don't consider myself mature just yet. I still think I'm pretty young. I definitely feel pretty young, but it's a good book. It's by Anne Lauren Koch. I think that's how you say her name. I've enjoyed reading her story. I'm almost finished with that book. She's definitely privileged from a financial standpoint, and she's white. But there are some things that I can relate to in her book, and it's a good read also. I recommend it. And also Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert T. Kiyosaki. It's a good book, even though I may not agree with him on political issues. I've definitely taken a lot away from his book, and it's definitely good for someone who wants to improve their life, improve their financial standing, and just create a better life for themselves and a better life for other people too. I like what my parents are doing by investing in real estate. I really appreciate them doing that for us because a way that you can actually live forever and never die is by creating a legacy to pass on. That's how you live forever. That's how you become immortal. So I'm coming to the end of yet another video. But before I go, I would like to give a shout out to another trans YouTuber by the name of Rose Montoya. I did help out with Rose's campaign. I wasn't able to donate much, but I gave something. Rose, if you're watching, I just want to say, all the best with everything that you're going through right now. I wish you well with everything. I would like to do a Skype call with you if I can. I've reached out to you already a couple times, but I haven't heard back from you just yet, but I'm giving it a little time. But I just want to say that, I wish you well with everything. She was probably one of the first YouTubers that I started watching when I started my transition. And I got a lot out of her video on what the Bible says about being transgender because for a while I struggled with my salvation. And for that first full year, probably about half of it, with all that was going on in my life, I was questioning whether or not God was disappointed in me. If he was telling me that I've made the wrong decision for my life by having these things to happen the way that they did. But I've overcome all of that, thankfully, and I know that God still loves me and that I can still have a relationship with him. But I'm 2 years into my transition now, and hopefully the next 2 years will be even better, that I'll progress more and be able to be of service to my community. Remember, this isn't all about me or one individual. It's about building bridges, being of service to others. To all a good day, and God bless, and don't be a stiff.